Everybody, peace. Welcome to the Started By You College Football Show. Wherever or however you're listening, we're so grateful to have you with us. As you guys know, I'm your host, Casuan Caudle, and wow, what a weekend for college football and for Alabama fans. Wow, what an amazing weekend. Wow, guys, it was rivalry weekend, and the the games did not disappoint. We might have saw perhaps the greatest catch in Iron Bowl history. Perhaps not the greatest moment, but definitely the greatest catch that will live on in Iron Bowl lore. And we're going to discuss the implications of that catch, of the outcome of that game for Alabama and for the college football playoff. And we're going to discuss the chaos that could ensue after this weekend for the college football playoff committee. So, that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. But before we get started, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Started By You Show. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/startedbodyshow/tip. Once again, it's streamelements.com/startedbodyshow/tip. None of this is possible without you guys as fans. We're so grateful and honored for all the love and support that you show us. So, that being said, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it, shall we? All right. Whew, what a weekend it was. What a game it was. Alabama, Auburn. Wow, what a game. I mean, you can't even describe it. Listen, Alabama 4th and goal from the 31-yard line. Jalen Milroe in the pocket. Auburn only rushes 2 defenders. Gets time in the pocket. Scans the field. Throws a deep ball to the left pylon to Isaiah Bond to where only he can catch it. Isaiah Bond leaps, catches it, gets both feet in the end zone. Touchdown. Alabama wins the game 27-24. What a game. It keeps Alabama's playoff hopes alive. So now when they match up with Georgia this weekend in the SEC championship game, a lot of implications on the line for that game, and a lot of jittery fingers, a lot of sweaty palms will be watching that game in the Superdome. So what does the outcome of that game mean for the college football playoff as a whole? Listen, we saw that Washington defeated Washington State, which now has a matchup with Oregon for the Pac-12 championship game. And you can all but for certainly assume and guarantee that the winner of that game is going to make the college football playoff. Winner of the Pac-12 is going to get in. We already got one spot right there. And if Michigan can defeat Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, we can all but guarantee Michigan will be in as well. So that leaves 2 spots, right? So now you got a Georgia team, you've got an Alabama team, you got a Texas team, and you've got an ACC champion and possibly Florida State. Well, what happens now is that though Florida State missed their opportunity to showcase to the community that they are a dominant team without Jordan Travis, but they squandered the opportunity by winning a close game against an extremely average Florida team. So now if you're the committee and you look at it, you look at Florida State and you say, okay, what's their best victory? What's Florida State's best victory? Did it come in the regular in week 1 of the regular season against a 3-loss LSU? Because now what happens is Florida State plays Louisville in the ACC championship game, and now that a victory against Louisville in the ACC championship game doesn't look as appealing because Louisville now has 2 losses as well, or 3 losses if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry. And now Florida State is not really going to have an opportunity to showcase to the committee how good they really are, and that's if they even beat Louisville. And so if we say, for instance, Alabama chaos happens, Alabama beats Georgia. Like I said, you already got your Pac-12, and you already have. Let's just assume Michigan's going to win the Big Ten. You already got 2 spots right there with Michigan and Washington or Oregon. We'll cover that in a preview show later on in the week. But now you've got 4 teams for 2 spots. You've got possible Georgia, and you've got a possible Alabama. You've got Texas, and Florida State if they win the ACC championship game. And this is also for assuming that Texas wins the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma State as well. I've talked about this all season. The point of the college football playoff is to get the 4 best teams at that time into the playoff. I don't care about your resume. I don't care about your strength of schedule. And quite frankly, what does the head-to-head mean if it occurred in the first 2 weeks of the season? To me, that doesn't mean anything. Because we look at both these teams on paper, if we look at because really what it comes down to is Alabama and Texas. That's really what it comes down to. That's the only reason we're having this conversation right now. And the only reason we're having a conversation about Alabama and Texas is, like I said earlier, because people know subconsciously that Alabama's better than Texas. People know subconsciously that Alabama is really better than Texas at this point in the season, and they're a scarier team than Texas is right now. And so now people are questioning, okay, we know Alabama's better than Texas. How do we get them in? That's the only reason we're having this conversation. If people didn't truly believe that Alabama was better than Texas, we wouldn't have this discussion. We wouldn't even discuss the possibility of Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. So this is the only reason we're having this discussion is because people know subconsciously that Alabama's a better team. And if you know that already, then you have to throw away all the measurables we have with, like I said, with strength of schedule and conference championship and head-to-head. Who are the 4 best teams? Who are the 4 best teams in college football right now? And that's really what it comes down to. It's that simple. It is that simple. There's no other parameter that we need to have. Who are the 4 best teams? If that's one of the 4 best teams, you get them in there. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. And I say all that to say, if we get chaos, we get Alabama that beats Georgia, and you got Texas wins their Big 12 championship, and you got Florida State that wins their ACC championship game. I don't see how you punish an Alabama team for a loss against a top 10 opponent that occurred the second week of the season, and you also punish a Georgia team that, though the committee won't admit it, it is in the back of their minds, though, a Georgia team that's won 20 straight games dating back to last season, 2 straight national championships, and is undefeated this season, and has had the longest stay at number 1 this season. I don't see how you punish them for a loss against a great Alabama team. So I say that to say, if Alabama's to beat Georgia, and you get Michigan that wins the Big 10, and you get Florida State that wins the ACC, and you get Texas that gets the Big 12, I hate to say it, but you have to leave Georgia in there. You don't move them out of the college football playoff because of one loss. You don't do that. And it's because Georgia's one of the 4 best teams. Does anybody really question whether Texas is better than Georgia? Does anybody really question whether Florida State's better than Georgia? No one questions that. And I guarantee you, if Alabama beats Georgia, no one's going to question, is Texas better than Alabama? Is Florida State really better than Alabama? No. Because then it's going to confirm that Alabama is one of the 4 best teams in college football. So what happens if Alabama beats Georgia, you have Michigan in there, you have your Pac-12 champ in there, Oregon or Washington, doesn't matter, one of those teams. You have to put Alabama in there, and you have to put Georgia in there. And I hate to say, but your Big 12 and your ACC are out of luck. And I think that's the only way. That's the only way to describe it. Shout out to my good friend Anna, who's over in Europe right now watching us live. Thank you so much for tuning in, Anna. But yeah, I think there's no other way. There's no other way around it. You have to leave Alabama in there. And what happens now is because what once was Texas used to have the best victory of the season against Alabama, right? Occurred the second week of the season though in Tuscaloosa. Well, then Alabama turns around and they win the SEC championship game. That's now the best victory of the season because they defeated the number 1. So the victory for Texas against Alabama means less if Alabama beats Georgia. So you can't punish a Georgia team for losing to an Alabama team in the last week of the conference championship, and you can't punish an Alabama team for something that occurred the second week of the season. So I just don't see how you can do that. And if you have to ask me, if we get chaos and Alabama wins, you have Georgia in there, you have Alabama, and you have Michigan, and you have your Pac-12. Because what happens is I watched that Florida State and Florida game Listen, I get it. Florida State could be like the Cardale Jones and Ohio State back in 2014, but we have to remember, even when Cardale Jones got into the starting lineup for Ohio State, they beat Minnesota by 30 points in the conference championship game. And in the regular season game before that, I forgot who they played. But they won both of those games by 30 points with Cardale Jones in there. So they showed the committee that they can be, that they're a talented team despite the loss to, I guess, to JT Barrett, and before that Braxton Miller. But Florida State didn't look explosive like that against Florida. And depending on how they look against Louisville, even if they beat Louisville, it's not going to mean much. So that's why I believe that Florida State is not going to have a good enough resume to get into the college football playoff, even though they're undefeated. But we'll get into, I don't want to give too much to predictions because we'll save that for our show later on in the week. But if chaos ensues, I just don't see how you can leave out Alabama. I don't see how you can leave out Georgia. And I get, listen, guys, don't get it misconstrued. There is an extreme bias within the college football playoff committee, despite what they want to say. They are extremely partial towards the SEC because it's voter fatigue. They no longer want to see the SEC, dominate the college football playoff as it has for the past 4 or 5 years. Listen, the SEC has won the last 4 college football playoffs. Last 3. Georgia won the last 2. Alabama won the one before that, and LSU won the one before that. So the last 4. So a non-SEC team hasn't won a national championship since Clemson back in 2018. So there is a lot of voter fatigue. There is a lot of bias from the SEC. So that is playing a factor in it as well. Despite what they say, guys, understand that is playing a factor. But the truth is out there. The truth is seen, and the truth is felt. That's the only reason we're having this conversation. I promise you guys, if people didn't really believe that Alabama was one of the 4 best teams, this wouldn't be a discussion at all. We wouldn't even discuss. I wouldn't be having this topic on our show if we didn't truly believe that Alabama was one of the 4 best teams. But because subconsciously people know that Alabama is one of the 4 best teams, that's the only reason we're having this discussion right here. That is the only reason it's up for debate. If people didn't really think Alabama was better than Texas, this would not be a question. But because people subconsciously know that Alabama is better than Texas, that's why we're having this discussion. And that's all you need to know right there. The fact that we're even having this discussion says all that you need to know. But guys, that's it for our show for today. I just wanted to discuss the chaos that could possibly ensue from Alabama beating Georgia in the SEC championship game. Listen, you guys know we're gonna do our preview shows on Wednesday and Friday. Thursday and Friday. We'll do our preview shows Thursday and Friday. So, I didn't want to give away predictions. I didn't want to do scores. I just wanted to give a recap from the biggest moment from this past weekend in college football. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a wonderful show. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content. Be sure to follow us on Patreon as well. You can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, and typing in Sorry to Bother You Show. That way you can get access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily. And if you'd like to support our network and our company, you can do so by following the link in the ticker below. It's streamelements.com/sorrytobotheryoushow/tip. None of this is possible if you guys are fans, and we'll leave links in the description to our website where you can find our merchandise, to our Patreon as well. We'll leave all that in the description. That way you can check it out whenever you want. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back again same time tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with our basketball show. So guys, until then, continue to stay safe, be vigilant, make smart decisions, and peace.